in Cyberpunk 2077. Starting off at number 10, a Hideo Kojima Easter egg. Of course, Hideo Kojima, basically video gaming's mascot at this point, creator of the Metal Gear franchise and more recently Death Stranding, has a cameo pretty early in the adventure actually. As you progress through the main story, you eventually get to a mission called The Heist. In it, you infiltrate a fancy hotel called Konpeki Plaza. After talking to the receptionist before getting on the elevator, you're given the option to either go to your room or look around a little. To find Kojima, you're going to want to look around. Now that you're back in control, you go to the restaurant lounge area and look around various booths. Eventually, you'll just find him chatting away with his entourage. He's playing a character named Oshima, but it's obviously Kojima because, it looks just like him. He probably got a facial scan or something. And when you find him, he's talking about developing brain dances, which are basically virtual reality movies / video games in this universe. So he's basically just playing a cyberpunk version of himself. You can even talk to him, but he just dismisses you like you're trying to pitch something to him, so you're not going to get a lot of a conversation out of him. My question is why Conan O'Brien isn't here with him. That would have cracked me up, but I mean, still, good cameo. At number 9 is another Kojima-related one. This is a Death Stranding Easter egg. In Act 2, if you follow River Ward's story that starts with I Fought the Law and continues to The Hunt, you can find something directly taken from Death Stranding. The first thing you do when you start The Hunt is break into a police lab and find some files. Now, if you break in through a window, you'll find yourself near where you need to be, but instead of following the corridor forward, you just turn to the first room on your right, and inside you will see something familiar. It is literally just BB, the bridge baby from Death Stranding. If you scan it, the game even tells you it's BB. It says it maintains the life of BB and detects BTs, which is exactly what it does in Death Stranding. Don't ask me why it's here. I have no idea. It is another Kojima thing, though. It's a baby in a plastic container. Death Stranding was weird, but I'm going to go ahead and say Death Stranding was also very cool. And number 8 is a Glados Easter egg. Yes, Glados from Portal makes a guest appearance in the game. If you want to find her, continue through the main story to the beginning of Act 2. You'll eventually start a side job that tasks you with hunting down a bunch of rogue AI taxi cabs. This is actually a pretty fun quest that gives you a decent amount of money and experience for not a lot of work. Mostly, that is. I mean, it can actually be kind of dangerous. The taxi with this Easter egg is found in Coast View in Pacifica. You drive up to it, you start scanning, and listen in. It's literally just GLaDOS talking to you.
Well, you found me. Congratulations.
How are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
It's got the same sing-song rhythm to the voice, and yes, there is a mention of cake.
I'm going to kill you, and all the cake is gone.
The whole situation is similar to Portal as well. The AI says it'll help you before leading you into a trap, and then it makes fun of you for falling into the trap. None of the other AI taxis have different voices, so this one just really stands out. Portal references might be a little dated at this point, but as far as I'm concerned, that makes it actually even cooler. Not a likely reference.
I hate you so much.
At number 7, there's an Easter egg for The Office. This one's really bizarre, actually, but if you're a fan of The Office or have at least seen the clip this side job references, you'll probably be amused. When you return to the afterlife in Act 2, you can talk to a guy that'll start up a Big in Japan side job. In it, you have to deliver a Japanese guy across town while being hunted by some gangsters. It's fairly simple, and completing it gets you a really cool, iconic samurai sword called the scalpel. The actual Easter egg happens only if you talk to these guys after finishing the mission, however. You select who is this guy, and the dude will tell you a story. It's about how he was a surgeon, but a tiger claw boss died on his operating table, and he had to flee to America. Any of that sound familiar? It's not word for word, but it's almost the same as the famous clip from the US version of The Office where a Japanese worker at Dunder Mifflin tells his story.
But mistake! You're supposed to die!
It's a ridiculous non sequitur in the world of the Office TV show, so it's probably why it got stuck in the developers' heads. It's kind of one of the last things I would have ever expected to find in Cyberpunk 2077, so it was a big surprise, but a kind of a pretty cool one.
I killed Tiger Crow boss on purpose. World best surgeon, make no mistake. the best.
At number 6, there is a Half-Life 3 Easter egg. It's a small one, but just for being a note, they sneak in a lot of digs at Valve and their famously unfinished series Half-Life. Alright, during the pickup, which is one of the first missions in the game, you find this note called No Life 3 review. They don't really disguise the joke here. After 50 long years, the wait is finally over. Sure, we recently got Half-Life Alyx, but it's been a long time since there's any actual news about Half-Life 3, and it feels like it is going to take 50 years at this point. There's more to it. Scientist Baron Freimunch, like Gordon Freeman, and he ventures into the Arctic Circle, just like the rumored leaked location of the next Half-Life game. They mention a crowbar, they mention aliens, there's Alice, who's probably supposed to be Alex. Yeah, it's all here. It's not particularly clever, and it also took them, ages to make Cyberpunk 2077, so yeah, but it's still fun to find. At number 5 is V's Toilet. If you thought the Portal reference was outdated, or an old reference, or whatever, here is a really fun one for you. You ever check out V's bathroom? There's a little Easter egg hidden by the toilet, the 3 seashells from the 1993 movie Demolition Man. Now, Demolition Man is about a cop from 1996 getting frozen and thawed in the future, so not knowing how toilets work was part of his general future shock. What are the 3 shells? Nobody really knows. There's no toilet paper, there's just 3 seashells. You just have to figure it out. It seems like V probably did figure it out because he's using that toilet like it's nothing. But the actual function of these things does remain a mystery. The developers didn't bother explaining to us what those 3 seashells do. Not that they had an obligation to do so, but even now, nearly 30 years removed from Demolition Man, it is fun to see that.
How'd you get that 500 holes in your face? Learn to eat with a fork?
At number 4, there are some Easter eggs involving the character Judy. I don't necessarily know if there's a reason for it, but there are some Easter eggs associated with her, so let's go through them real quick. Her tattoos actually hide 2 of them. Here's a lyric from Radiohead's Pyramid song under her Big 13 tattoo, and on her other arm, here's the lyrics for the song Parallel Universe by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This one's pretty easy to see at any point when she's driving you around, but my probably favorite one is this. The little cartoon icon she has when you call her. Get it? It's a ghost in a shell, in a reference to, and of course that is not a surprising reference, the manga and anime Ghost in the Shell. At number 3, there is a Blade Runner Easter egg, and of course there is. Why wouldn't there be? Blade Runner is the prime representation of cyberpunk in cinema, so there had to be a Blade Runner reference somewhere in this game, right? In Pacifica, there's an abandoned hotel that's been repurposed into a bazaar by some destitute people of this massive slum. If you look around outside, you might notice the name of the hotel is Batty's Hotel. This is a reference to the character Roy Batty, the kind of villain of Blade Runner. To really drive the reference home, there's an origami bird in the logo, because origami animals are a recurring theme from that movie. At number 2, there are Witcher 3 Easter eggs, duh. It's CD Projekt Red's most beloved and influential game. It's not a surprise there are some callbacks to it. There's some that are really easy to find. One that we all knew was going to happen. You can find Ciri, one of the main characters of that game, on a magazine cover. We've not seen her in the game. Nobody has pulled up any evidence of her being in the game, but we do know from Witcher 3 that she has been to the cyberpunk dystopia in her dimension hopping. So during the Corpo Life Path opening, you go through the desk and you'll see her on a retro magazine. But that's not all. Roach, the name Geralt gave to all of his horses, can also be spotted. There's arcade machines all over the place called Roach Race, which has a horse and a griffin featured in it. Most significant Witcher 3 Easter eggs, probably the most obscure. If you peer near the bridge boarding Pacifica and Haywood, you can find a dead guy with a note nearby. If you read it, it's about a guy going mad searching for stashes and caches with the mark of the smuggler. In the note, he complains that it's a game, a cruel, ludicrous game. Like, it's a joke about all the smugglers' caches in Witcher 3. Each one would be marked with a question mark on the map, making players want to seek them out, only to find it's another smuggler's cache with mostly junk inside. The awfulness of the smuggler's caches became kind of a meme in the Witcher community, and I'm guessing this is just kind of a little acknowledgement of that complaint. The note does mention one final cache left to be found. If you swim towards the bridge, you can find an actual smuggler's cache in this game, and just like in The Witcher 3, it's basically filled with just junk. If you went insane looking for these things in their last game, maybe this is cathartic, or maybe it's infuriating. I don't know, but it's really funny to me. And finally, at number 1, photo mode has a ton of Easter eggs in it. Now, Easter eggs in photo mode come in the form of poses, and like we would be here all day if I went through all of them, but here's some of the best ones. There's a hard pass and a now you're talking pose. They're both actually from the Hotline Bling music video and the Drake approves / disapproves meme. There's Sailor Moon's famous transformation pose from Sailor Moon. There's this pose, V's Bizarre Adventure, which is V voguing like crazy. Just like one of the more iconic poses from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Nothing makes me happier than this one, Joker Stairs, which is not trying to hide it. It's from Dancing Down the Stairs in the Joker movie. There's V for Victory, which is a pose straight out of Dark Souls. It's the famous Praise the Sun gesture. And maybe the best is probably the You're Breathtaking pose, which is right out of the Microsoft Xbox E3 press conference where Keanu Reeves said that in response to an audience member. It's got the pointing finger, the slightly off balance pose. It's pretty funny that they put this in here, actually. And one more quick bonus Easter egg for you. The creator of the Cyberpunk universe gets his own reference. It's a small one. In Japantown, you find Pondsmith Street, named after Mike Pondsmith, the prolific role-player game designer who created the entire Cyberpunk universe. And he also hosts one of the in-game radio stations, which is not necessarily a reference, it's kind of a role, but it's awesome. And that's all for today. Did you find anything else, or have you found these?
You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we live.